Have you ever wondered which power in Egyptian mythology is the most destructive? Well, let me tell you, it's the Eye of Ra. Not only was it a complex entity personified by goddesses, but it also was an aspect of Atum-Ra, the combination of Atum and Ra, and a separate goddess. In fact, the Eye of Ra could manifest itself through other goddesses, creating compound deities that could unleash destruction on humanity. But that's not all. The Eye of Ra was also associated with various celestial objects and embodied both the destructive and creative aspects of fire and water. So, if you want to learn more about the most destructive power in Egyptian mythology and the myths and legends that surround it, then stick around until the end. During the time of the ancient Egyptians, the word for eye, earth, was also a homophone for the word meaning doing or acting. This was fitting because the eye served as the divine enforcer for the gods, intervening in drastic ways. The Eye of Ra was a complex entity personified by goddesses who were also feminine as the word Ert was. The Eye of Ra was an aspect of Atum-Ra, the combination of Atum and Ra, but it was also a separate goddess. When removed from Ra, the eye could manifest itself through other goddesses, creating compound deities such as when it merged with Sekhmet to unleash destruction on humanity. The Eye of Ra worked through other goddesses, including Tefnut, Bastet, Mut, Hathor, and Sekhmet, and was depicted as a red sun disk above their heads. The eye was associated with various celestial objects, such as the morning star, the moon, and the sun, and its appearance was often represented by the Wedjat eye. The Eye of Ra embodied both the destructive and creative aspects of fire and water respectively, and was sometimes represented as two distinct eyes, the Eye of Ra and the Eye of Atum. In the first myth, Atum sends out his eye to find his lost children. The second myth involves the eye shedding tears that created humanity. The third myth features the goddess Sekhmet being sent out as the eye to destroy humanity. In ancient Egyptian mythology, Atum is considered the demiurge, responsible for the creation of the universe. Atum has two children, Shu and Tefnut, who personified air and moisture respectively. At the time of their birth, the world had not yet been created, and Atum and his children existed in the waters of Nun, which represented chaos and the potential for creation. Atum sent out his eye to find his lost children, but the eye was believed to be an aspect of the sun god, Ra, who was also a distinct deity and the solar aspect of Atum. The eye could function independently and was often associated with Ra's wrath. One of the coffin texts states that Shu created light in the darkness so that the eye could find him and his sister. Another version suggests that Shu and Tefnut, accompanied by the eye, returned to Atum when he emerged as Atum-Ra on the primeval mound. However, this reunion was not entirely joyous, as Atum had grown a new eye in the absence of the original one. When the original eye returned, it found another eye in its place, causing it dismay and fury. To appease the eye, Atum transformed it into the Uraeus cobra, the first snake, and placed it on his forehead as a symbol of honor. The Uraeus cobra is often depicted wrapped around the sun disk. According to ancient Egyptians, the world was surrounded by the waters of Nun, and the air bubble that Shu created was the space in which creation was to exist. These myths and legends demonstrate the intricate and complex beliefs of ancient Egyptian religion, which included multiple gods and goddesses, and the interweaving of their stories and symbolism. Egyptian mythology tells the eye's role in the creation of humanity with various versions describing how tears shed by the creator's eye brought forth mankind. Atum, the creator god, is said to have created the gods from his sweat and humanity from the tears of his eye. Other versions describe Atum's creation of Shu and Tefnut through spitting, sneezing, or ejaculating. Some sources suggest that the eye's tears resulted from her anger upon returning to Atum and finding a new eye in her place. This makes humanity a product of rage and misery, fitting given our rebelliousness. In addition to the eye's role in creation, Egyptian mythology also creates Geb, the personification of the earth, and Nut, the personification of the sky, who were born to Shu and Tefnut. Earth and sky were initially conjoined, and it was not until Shu separated them that life could begin. The emergence of humanity is thus seen as manifesting from the power of both Atum and Shu. Ra, the first king, was succeeded by Shu, who was then succeeded by his son Geb. Osiris, the eldest child of Geb, ascended to the throne, but was later usurped and murdered by his younger brother Set. Set was eventually defeated by Horus, after which the pharaohs, who were believed to be descended from the gods, took over the kingship and were considered divine. In ancient times, both gods and humans inhabited the earth together. Ra was a powerful ruler, but his eye became angry and left for a distant realm, possibly the Nubian or Libyan desert. In her fierce leonine form, she destroyed anything in her path, leaving Ra vulnerable without his incarnation of destructive power. Ra dispatched the other gods to retrieve his eye. But this was no easy feat, as she was the most powerful deity in terms of pure destructive power. In different versions of the myth, different gods were sent to retrieve the eye. Oniris, the hunter god, used his skill and cunning to succeed in one version, while Thoth used his clever speech to pacify the eye in another. In yet another version, Shu was sent to retrieve the eye, as it was his consort Tefnut who had become it. Ra was the first king, but old age had caught up to him after countless years. Humanity, believing him to be vulnerable, plotted against him, and Ra called upon his eye and the elder gods for advice. He expressed concern that humans who were born from his own eye's tears had become rebellious. It was decided that the eye should be sent out into the world, assuming the form of the goddess Sekhmet, to bring about the destruction of humanity and put an end to their defiance. The eye put an end to all of those who were responsible for the tragedy and drenched the land in their blood. After the first day, for reasons that have never been explained, Ra had a change of heart and decided that he no longer wanted the destruction caused by his divine retribution to continue. However, at this point, Sekhmet, who was filled with the unbridled wrath and unequaled power of the eye, had developed a taste for blood, and the need to kill had become an obsession. It was clear that if the eye was not impeded in some way, then the eradication of humanity would not be too much longer in coming, given the number of people who had been killed after only the first day. Because the gods could not compete with her power on a level playing field, they devised a cunning plan to distract and perhaps even incapacitate her. They amassed a considerable amount of crimson mineral. The mineral was to be ground up into powder by the servants, while others were tasked with mashing a substantial amount of barley to produce beer. After the beer had been brewed in 7,000 jars, the red mineral, which had been ground into powder, was added to the beer to give it the appearance of blood. When she arrived the following day, she discovered what appeared to be a lake of blood, where all 7,000 jars had been emptied out at the location where the eye intended to continue her killing. Her reflection drew her attention, and she started drinking. Later, when she was extremely drunk, she went out back to the gods, having forgotten all about humanity and the desire that used to burn inside of her to see them all perish. Wow, what an incredible journey we've been on today, exploring the power of the Eye of Ra in Egyptian mythology, from its role in the creation myths to its manifestation through other goddesses and its destructive power. There's no denying the significance of the Eye of Ra in ancient Egyptian religion. We've learned about the complex beliefs of the Egyptians, the interweaving of their stories and symbolism, and how these myths and legends influenced their culture and society. It's amazing to see how these ancient beliefs still hold relevance today, and how they have influenced our modern culture in so many ways. So, as we wrap up our exploration of the Eye of Ra, we hope that you learned something new, and that you were entertained along the way. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel for more exciting content like this. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.